Good morning, everyone. On Saturday night, when we sit down at the Seder, the first thing we say is, this is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Whoever is hungry, let them come and eat. And the question is this a way to invite people to your Seder? By saying, come join me as we eat the bread of affliction? If you want to entice people to join your meal, tell them what's on the menu, the brisket, the matzah ball soup, the wonderful desserts. And Rabbi Jonathan Sachs says that the message is that how do we turn the bread of affliction into the bread of freedom? By sharing it with others. This Passover is once again a very bitter-sweet Passover because there are still 59 hostages in captivity and 24 of them are alive, which means this is their second Passover being observed as hostages in bondage. Matter of fact, the mother of Hirsch Goldberg, Rachel, suggested a new ritual this year on Passover. She said, don't just dip the parsley into the salt water, but she said, drink the salt water. Because many of the hostages who came out told us that they had to drink salty, dirty water in captivity. So to feel the current pain of those in bondage, actually drink the salt water. And when you eat the bread of affliction, you could think about the hostages who wish they had bread of affliction. Unfortunately, they go many days without any bread at all. But how do we overcome the sadness that's associated with this Passover? And it's interesting that in the world of communications, radio operators, police officers, firefighters, they have a code word, and that is 10-4. 10-4 means I get you, I understand you. I'm with you. I've received your message. And I think the code word for the Passover evening, more than any other holiday, is 10-4. Of course, the number 10 is associated with the 10 plagues. We will pour 10 drops of wine out of our cup to represent the 10 plagues. So one number that's very prominent at the Seder is 10. And the other one is 4. 4 cups of wine, 4 questions, and 4 different types of children at the Seder. And the message of the Seder table is there's room for every Jewish child around the table. You know, many families start extending their tables for Passover. You get another leaf, and you extend the table as long and as far as it can go. And I think that's a metaphor. The table is our heart, and our heart has to be extended, just like there are 4 chambers in the heart. The heart's chambers can be small, meaning that we could have a narrow, confined heart or a large, open heart. And therefore, the message of Passover is share your bread with others, welcome others, unify with all Jews, regardless, even if in your perception someone is a wicked child. Blunt the teeth, meaning take away the sharpness of communication, of discussion, find common ground, bond with one another. And the only thing that transforms the bread of affliction into the bread of freedom is our unity and our love. And in that regard, there is so much to celebrate this Passover. Because this Passover, once again, with many of the freed hostages who have come out since last year, we've heard so much story of heroism. The story of Larry Albag, who related to us when we were in Israel, how she and Agam Berger observed last Passover in captivity and how she had a prayer book with her. And so before Passover, like today, a few days before the holiday, she started to go through the Siddur and fold pages that were connected to the story of Passover. And then she drew pictures from her memory of her Haggadah and from her childhood and wrote down different songs from her memory. And together with Agam Berger sitting in the Gaza tunnels, conducted a Passover Seder. We've heard heroic stories of people making kiddush and finding faith in captivity in the face of their captors. And therefore there is so much to celebrate: the unity, the love, the generosity, the faith, the resilience of the Jewish people. And then we will turn our bread of affliction into bread of freedom. There's a story about the Blusheva Rabbi who in the concentration camps managed to light a menorah with some of the fellow inmates. And he recited the first blessing on the commandment to light the menorah. He laid the second blessing, thanking God for the miracles performed for our ancestors. But before it was time to say the third blessing, he started to cry as he closed his eyes, and he wept and he wept. And then he opened his eyes and looked at everyone's face in the barrack and proceeded to say, Shechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Afterwards, his followers asked him, why did you start crying before the Shechianu? And then why did you open your eyes and look at us and then recite it? And he said, before a blessing, you think about what you're going to say. And I said, how can I thank God, Shechianu, that I've lived to see this day, this horrific day in the concentration camps? But then I opened my eyes and I looked at your faces and I said, here's a group of Jews in the barracks, in the concentration camps, and they still want to light the menorah. They want to do God's commandments, perform His mitzvot. And I said, I'm going to say Shechianu, not that I lived to see the Holocaust tragically, but that I lived to see such pure faith amongst my fellow Jews. And I feel it's exactly this way on Passover. We're going to sit at the Seder. We're going to think about the hostage. We're going to think about all the displaced families. We're going to think about all the Seder tables in Israel of families that their loved ones died on October 7th, or soldiers who died, and there's an empty seat, and they're in pain, excruciating pain, because their father, son, brother, sister is not at the table. Unimaginable pain. And how are we going to say Shechianu? How are we going to be joyous? And that is because we're going to look around and say, what a Jewish nation, what a beautiful people we are. Look at how much love, goodness, and faith we have. And yes, with that faith, as we always have, we will once again find that love and joy and triumph and succeed, and once again celebrating many joyous holidays with all of our hostages and all of our loved ones returned to us. Have a wonderful day.